Understanding Jira core project for business processes. In this video, we are going to take a look at creating tasks in your project, creating subtasks in your project, assigning tasks to your team members, updating the task, and transitioning the task in the workflow. And finally, we'll take a look at how we can create a dashboard for your project. In the previous video, we created one project for a legal team and we used the Jira core type of project. So if I click on my projects link on top and if I go to the current project, which is legal, right now we don't have any issues in this particular project. Let us create some issues. So to create new issues, there are a couple of ways. You can either click on the button on top called create, or you can also go to this section here that says what needs to be done and it says new task. So let us quickly create a couple of new tasks in this particular project. So all you need to do, you need to first give a small description or a summary of your task and press the enter key. So now you can see a new task, please create a new contract, has been created in our project. Let us create a couple of more tasks. So this time we can see that the option to create a new issue is displayed right at the bottom. So if I click on this particular section here, so you can see that a new section called what needs to be done has appeared, and it is a very quick way to create a new task in your project. So let us create a new task by simply typing in the task summary. So this time I'm typing in my task summary, and so just give your task a new title and press the enter key. So now our new task has been created, and we saw how we can create two new tasks by using this section called what needs to be done. Now there is another way to create a new task in your project by clicking on the button create on the top menu. So if you click on this button, now as compared to the previous feature where you can simply create a new task by giving it a nice summary, this time we have to provide some additional details. So first of all, we need to have a summary that we need to provide. And we also need to provide some additional fields, and you can notice here that the fields that we need to provide in this particular form, some of them are required fields like the summary and the reporter, but rest of the fields like attachment, due date, description are not required. So it is up to you if you want to fill in those fields. For example, if you also want to attach some files, you can upload a file here, or if you want to provide a date by which you think this activity or this task should be done. So you can also provide a due date. So let me provide a due date as 12th of March. And if you also want, you can also give a nice description along with the summary just to provide some additional details. And in this section, you can also do some formatting. For example, if you want to have bullet points, so you have the option to also use the formatting options on top. For example, if you think in the description you need to provide some numbers or some bullets, so you can use the feature here called bullet list. So let us provide some breakup of the description. And apart from using the bullet points, you can also make a section of the text as bold, italics. You can also do underline, or you can also change the color. So these are some of the formatting options that you can do, and it will actually help you in using the right format for the issue description field. Let us now proceed further. So this time, if you also want to assign the activity to a specific person in your team, you can use the assigning field. For example, if you want to assign this particular task to your team member, so you can actually select their name from the drop down here. For example, if you want to assign this particular activity to Julia Lawson, you can simply select the name. And you also have the option to select the priority of your task. So if you think this particular task is highest priority items. You can select the highest option from the drop down. And finally, you also have the option to provide some labels. And labels are nothing but some keywords or free tags that you can enter while you're creating an issue or a task in your project. For example, if you think this particular activity is related to a document, you can type in a new label called document here. And at the same time, if you think that you also want to have some additional keywords like admin, and maybe since you're talking about a legal project, so you can have these keywords, and these keywords can be freely entered. And this will help you in searching and also to get some additional details about the activity or the task that you're performing. So finally, you have the option to click on the create button and your task will be created in the same project. So you can see here that as compared to the previous option where we simply clicked on the create issue and we quickly entered the task information, this time if you click on the create button option on the top, you have to provide some additional fields. So right now in this particular project, we have 3 different tasks. Now let me open one of the tasks in a separate window. If you click on this particular issue key here, then we will be able to work on the issue, and we also have the details of the issue that we just entered. For example, on the very top, you have the option to take a look at the issue key, which is the unique identifier for this particular task. Then you have the option to take a look at the summary of the task that we entered. Then we have some buttons here. For example, if you want to modify the option that you have provided earlier, like the edit button, you can actually click on this to modify the information like the summary or maybe all the details that you entered so far. You also have the button to add a comment, and you also have the option to assign the ticket to any team member. So these buttons will actually help you with the working of the task. Now you can actually see here under the details section, you have the information that you entered, like the issue type, which is task, and the priority, which is currently set to highest, and the labels that we entered earlier. And on the right hand side, you have the list of people who are involved in this particular task. So right now, this particular task is assigned to Julia Lawson, and she is the assignee. And since this is raised by me, so my name is listed under the reporters section. Now let us take a look at the workflow for this particular task. So if you click on this particular link, view workflow. So right now in this particular project, it's a very simple workflow. We just have 2 states, to do and done. And there is no intermediate state in between because we selected this template for task management, and in the task management template, we just have 2 states in the workflow. So let me close the window here to go back to the issue. Now let us say to perform this activity, I also need to perform some more activities which are part of the same task. So what you can do as well, for any ticket or for any task in your project in Jira, if you have configured subtasks, you can also break up this activity into a couple of different subtasks that will be child of the same task that you're working on. Let us say for performing this task, for completing this task, I need to perform 2 different activities. So I can click on the create subtask, and I can now create a couple of child activities, or I can break up my big task into small subtasks. So first of all, you need to provide the summary. I'm giving a very small summary here. Please approve the document. Then we also have the option to attach a file, and we can have a due date for each and every subtask, which is quite handy. And you can see here that the way you create a subtask is right now very much similar to the way you create a new task. So you also have the option to fill in the description, and you can also assign your individual subtask to any team member in your project. So let me create one more subtask in the same project under the same task. And this time, if I click on this particular option, create another, and when I click on the create button, the window that we have right now to create a subtask will remain on the screen, and we will have the option to create a new subtask without leaving this particular pop-up. So now we can see here that one of the subtasks has been created. Now we can add one more. And you can see here that some of the fields are copied from the previous subtask, like the due date, and if you have also filled in some additional fields, that will also be populated for you automatically. But this time I just want to create this second subtask very quickly without filling in much of the information, and I can click on the create button. So now you can see here that in this particular task I have two subtasks that have been created for me, and if I want I can assign these individual subtasks to any team member, and these subtasks can have their own workflow. For example, if I want to resolve or complete one of my subtasks, I can change the status to done. So you can see here that the first subtask status will now be changed to done. We have now second subtask, which is right now in the same to-do state. Let me change the status of the second subtask to done as well. Now both the activities, both the subtask in my project has been completed, and if I want, I can also change the status of my parent to done. So these buttons that appear on top right next to the more button, these buttons are nothing but the workflow transitions, and based on the workflow that is configured for your project, the right button will be displayed on the top section here, which is nothing but your workflow transition button. So let me resolve, or let me click on the done button. That will actually resolve my task. So you can see here that we have now resolved the task. And by the way, any change that you do in your task, in your issue that is assigned to you or that you reported, the people who are involved in the ticket or in the task, they can get notified. So in Jira, we have the concept of notification schemes, and by default, the notifications are enabled for you. So whenever you assign the ticket to anyone, whenever you resolve the ticket, or whenever you add a comment in the same ticket or task, the people who are involved in the ticket will get notified. So in this section, we learn how to create a project in Jira Core, and we also spent some time understanding Jira Core project for business processes. In the next section, we will discuss development using Jira software.